Hey guys, my name's Ashley and today I'm going to be talking about my self-destructive journey. So, I have battled with depression for pretty much as long as I can remember. I remember being in 5th grade. This is my most vivid memory from when I was young. And I was sitting in my bedroom listening to a song by Simple Plan. If you know it, it's called Welcome to My Life. Very depressing song. And I just was thinking, like, I want to die. That was my thought. And thankfully, I didn't try to kill myself at that time, but that was just my first memory of really being depressed and knowing what that was. As I got older and when I was younger, really, I was really struggling with my body image and loving myself. Both my siblings have always been really fit and in shape. They kind of got my dad's side of the family's athletics. Well, I am athletic, but I got more of my mom's side of the family's body type, which is more curvilicious and less just naturally thin. So I watched my siblings just be so good at sports. My brother was a nationally ranked triathlete and my sister was on varsity swim team, and they were both so thin, like just muscles and skin and bone. And I just wanted to be like that. I was not really overweight very much. I can put a picture if I can find one, but I was pudgy and I was not confident with myself. I really hated the way that I looked. I was not as thin as my siblings, and I don't know, my dad, he would like try to push me to lose weight, not because of any like thing to like look better. He would just be like, we want you to be healthier. If you lost weight, then you would do better in swimming. And I was a triathlete as well, so he was like, it's easier to run and to carry yourself and your body to move faster if you're lighter. It just makes sense like that. My dad was looking at it in a very healthy way, and I kind of manipulated those thoughts in my head to get unhealthy. So when I was in 7th grade, going to 7th grade, I became anorexic. So pretty much I would work out probably 3 hours a day. I would go running in the morning, and then I would go to swim practice, and then I would run at night. And then I also was in camp, so I was running around during the day as well, and I wouldn't eat very much. I would have to pack my lunch. I would pack very little to eat, and I just got thinner and thinner and thinner, and I began to be happy with myself that way. But as the months went on, I didn't maintain anorexia for very long. Eventually, I was like, I miss food, right? So by the end of the summer, the beginning of the school year, I was trying to figure out a different way to maintain this thinner weight and still be able to eat as I was before. So because I was restricting myself so much, I began to binge, which is just eating ridiculous amounts of food, like a full day's worth of calories in one sitting, and I would do that multiple times a day. I was actually reading Gossip Girl at the time, because it's the kind of kid I was, and I came across the idea of bulimia in Gossip Girl, believe it or not, because Blair in the book version of Gossip Girl was bulimic. And really, the thought process in my head was, people still like her. She's really cool while she's still bulimic, and she's pretty and she's thin. I should do that too. My 12-year-old thought process, right? So I began to do that. I would eat these large amounts, and then I would go to the bathroom and I would turn the sink in the shower on, go to shower right after dinner every night, and just go throw up. I wouldn't do it at school very often because I was so embarrassed in middle school. So I just wouldn't eat much during the day, and then I would shovel it into my mouth at night, then throw up. And that happened for years. I remember I would go to my best friend's house after school all the time, and we would hang out, and she was just so thin and she would eat so much, and I wanted to eat too because food, yum, good. But I would be rushing to get home afterwards because I needed to go throw up, and I didn't want to at her house. So that cycle of binging and purging, it continued until I was a senior in high school. So 6 years from the time I was 12 till I was 18. I would go on and off. That was how that was going. Along with it, I think when I was 15, I started to self-harm. I just remember being in high school and I was so miserable. I went to a really big high school. It wasn't a bad school at all. Academically, it was amazing. But there was a lot of pressure at the school. There was over 4,000 people and everyone was competing to be the best. You have to be in this sport and this club and be the president, and I was just under so much stress. And plus, on top of it, I didn't realize that I had this underlying depression that was just making me feel so terrible and hate myself so much. I was just miserable. So I started to cut myself. I have this thing where I repress memories that are really painful to me. Like, I barely can remember a lot of what was happening my earlier years of high school because they were just so painful that my mind is just decided to throw it out and get rid of it. So a lot of it I can't remember. I can't remember really the first time I cut. I know that it was the beginning of my sophomore year of high school, and I don't remember the details. A lot of people can think like, oh, I remember this first time I cut. I can remember the experience. I can remember what day it was. I can't really, which is really, it's really weird for me. But at first, I would do it on my hips because I didn't want anyone to see. I was on the swim team, so I would hide them there under where my swimsuit would cover. And then I would move all along my waist and I would cut there. I cut there for years, probably like 2 years, also cutting on the inside of my thighs because I just didn't want anyone to see, and really no one would see. I felt really self-conscious about it though. Still in swim team, I felt like the person behind me could see the cuts on my legs. But as things progressively got worse and I became more depressed, I started to cut on my arms. I don't know if you guys can see. It's pretty bad. It looks a lot better because it's been a while since I cut myself, thankfully. But I just saw it as a new canvas, kind of, to cut myself. It was just stereotypically where people would cut. Cutting would give me a kind of euphoria. How I explain it is, cutting for me, it would like take all of these crazy painful emotions in my head and it would put it into action. It's like outwardly showing and physically being in control of my pain. So I began to cut there and I would cut deeper and deeper, and it got pretty bad after a while. From time to time at swim practice or water polo practice, people would notice, but my whole team really knew and they wouldn't say anything about it. So as time went on and my cutting was really bad, my eating disorder was getting really bad, I actually tried to kill myself. I tried 3 times and obviously none of the attempts worked because here I am today. And I'm so thankful for that. But after the 3rd time, I told my school counselor, we were really close to each other, and I wrote her a letter and I left it in her mailbox. And when she read it the next day, she called me in and she was like, Ashley, do you know how serious this is? Do you understand what you're telling me? And I don't think I really did. I just felt like this depression was so normal to me that it wasn't as serious as she was seeing it to be. So from there, my parents came and picked me up and I was sent to the hospital. I actually did kind of enjoy it in the hospital. I felt like I needed it. I really needed that opportunity to take time for myself away from all of the stresses of school, of my life, and learn how to really cope with everything and what I was going through, and realize how bad it actually was. To realize that the way I'm feeling actually isn't normal. So going into the hospital, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder and anxiety disorder. There I was also treated obviously for my eating disorder, self-harm, and my suicidal ideations and attempts. Getting out of the hospital, it wasn't like a drastic change from night to day. Unfortunately, when I got out of the hospital, a girl in my high school had actually committed suicide and passed away the weekend before I came back. So coming back to school was really, really hard. I'd spend a lot of time in my counselor's office and not really go to class for like a week or so. I would just go to the classes that didn't really give me anxiety, and that was really, really hard. Also, they put me on Prozac, and they upped my prescription pretty quickly to a higher dose, and a side effect of that is that you can become more depressed, have more suicidal thoughts, and self-destructive behaviors if the dosage is increased really quickly. So I started to cut myself even worse. I was still very depressed, and really it seemed like nothing was changing. Thankfully, over that summer, a lot of things happened that helped me feel better and change my outlook on life. My niece was born, and I just remember her being born, and I thought, I want to be in this child's life. I want to be alive to watch her grow up and be an influence in her life and give her love. Also, I found a really good therapist. I switched a lot during that time because of what my insurance covered, and I'm really picky about my therapist, who I want to talk to. So I finally found this therapist that I really clicked with, and he helped me to take my depression and look at it differently, to find coping skills that actually help for me, that I didn't feel that were stupid. And altogether, I just started to get better. So by my senior year of high school, I was doing a lot better. I still struggled with cutting and bulimia from time to time, but it was significantly better, nothing like I was before. From the end of high school, my senior year, through my freshman year of college, I started to just be amazing. I was on this natural high. I was feeling so good. Of course, I would have my ups and downs, but the ups were way more than the downs, and I was doing awesome. But then, after my freshman year of college, they reduced my prescription on Prozac because I was doing so well. They thought like, oh, let's lower it down because you're doing really great. But once they lowered it down, I really started to feel super depressed again. I would lock myself in my room at school. I lived with my sister, and she'd be banging at my door, and my parents would be calling me, and I wouldn't answer. I wouldn't be going to class. I was sleeping all the time. And that happened through most of my first semester, and then through my second semester, I still wasn't doing a lot better. I got to the point where I even cut myself one time, and I was having suicidal thoughts. And so after that, I decided to come home for my junior year and reconvene, tried to get my mood back up and to feel more healthy and have the support of my family. My parents are a huge support of my life. So that's where I am now. I feel so much better, though. I have started to eat a vegan diet, which I will talk about in another video, because my body was so beat down from the years of bulimia that I need to eat better to just make me feel better. My stomach is really rough and my throat as well. So eating vegan has definitely helped that, as well as just making me feel better. It makes me feel happy and alive and have all this energy. Right now I feel pretty great. So that is my journey with my depression, self-destructive behaviors. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Don't feel embarrassed, and I will see you next time.